Good morning, beautiful people. Marie Alessi here. This morning, I decided to have a bit of a chat to you about our very movement, Loving Life After Loss. And I have to give a bit of a pre warning. This might get a little bit more emotional than others. However, this movement is so close to my heart that I decided to dedicate one of our meaningful mindset talks to this very movement, to have this ask for you guys. When you enter my movement, please come with an open mind and heart. I have talked about the title of this movement so often, and some of you might not even know the whole story, so I'm going to backtrack a little bit to share this story with you about about four, and it's like a bit of a longer story, but I want you to understand the whole collection of how it came to you actually being here. And it all started with a nervous breakdown I had in our kitchen. It was about a week after Rob's funeral, so probably around 3 weeks after he passed. And it all started with a bit of bickering between my boys upstairs in my ensuite. They were brushing their teeth and they had a go at each other. And I was in so much overload at that stage because I had been dealing with all the paperwork and the organizing the funeral, and my mom was here from Austria, and my house had turned into an absolute mess because there was paperwork and stuff and flowers and the all day living everywhere, and I felt I could not get on top of anything. And I was standing in the kitchen and I had this feeling of, when the emotions are raising and you can feel anger bubbling up because they're not listening to you. And then I said it louder and I said, I just need peace and quiet. And I said that louder and louder. And with every bickering I heard, I said, I just need peace and quiet. And at the end of that uh, build up, I found myself screaming this sentence over and over again on top of my lungs. I had an absolute nervous breakdown and I ended up on the kitchen floor whacking cupboard doors, like in complete despair and rage and anger just bubbling out of me, screaming that sentence till I just screamed on top of my lungs, and then I collapsed. And I remember the frustration, the helplessness that I felt, not knowing how to express the emotion that was bubbling up within me, not knowing how to catch myself from falling because I could feel while I was falling, I could feel the helplessness within my heart, within my whole, in every cell of my body, till I collapsed. And then I felt this silence, and the silence felt incredible and so needed. Yet in my head, I had instant guilt building up, and I felt like, how on earth can I protect the boys from that ever happening again, and from them to having to witness that ever again? So I went upstairs. My little one was hiding on the blanket in bed. My older one sat on the side. They both didn't even dare to speak. And I had no words. I didn't know how to apologize. And I sat down with them and I explained what happened within me and how helpless I felt and how I felt I couldn't stop that and how sorry I was at the bottom of my heart for them to be so scared. And then I said that I believe it is time for me to get some help too. They were talking to a school counselor at that stage, and I knew that I needed to find somebody for myself as well. So I found the beautiful Emily May and worked with her for about 4 months, and literally every session was such a build up and such an intense healing path that had started that I truly needed so badly, and I didn't even realize. Often we are so in doing mode, in particular when it comes to adversity. I felt my brain had switched into functioning mode and I was just ticking through the list, but I didn't realize how exhausted I was, how empty I felt, how drained I was, and how helpless I felt in that situation until I collapsed and screamed. And I knew that I never wanted to experience that again, such an out of control experience and such a I really felt I couldn't stop myself, and I really wanted to protect my boys from not ever having to go through that again. So the way I dealt with grief, I realized was very different. And I also realized that asking for help was the most important thing I could have done in my whole journey. Those 4 months working with a counselor really felt on very fertile ground. Every tiny little seed she threw at me fell straight into fertile ground because I knew I wanted to grow through this. I knew I wanted to be there for my boys. I knew I wanted to be as strong as possible for my boys, for myself. And I knew I needed help. So asking for help was probably the strongest and courageous thing I could have done in this very situation. And working through that with Emily, I shared with her how um, I could tell by the reaction and response from people that I was handling grief very differently to most. I really wanted to look at the bright side in everything. Even in Rob's passing, I wanted to find the hidden gifts. I wanted to find the opportunity. I wanted to find the happiness and the joyful moments. I wanted to allow all of them. I didn't just want sadness in my house. I knew sadness is a huge part of grief. I knew working through all of my emotions is a huge part of grief, but allowing myself to work through that and allowing music back into my life was a really big thing. I remember the very first time standing in my kitchen and singing again, and I could feel how my voice was leaving me as soon as I started the song. Because one of the songs I used to love singing, one of my absolute favorite songs, was always Love Is in the Air. And I remember one day feeling happiness and starting to sing this song, and my voice left me. And I could instantly feel the internal dialogue that was going on. Am I allowed to feel like that? Am I allowed to feel happy? Am I allowed that joy in my life, in my heart, in my voice, expressing it? And I decided to sing, even though my voice was not as strong and even though I didn't have it with the whole usual enthusiasm and power in my voice, but I decided to allow it back out of me and to express it. And that was really healing. So one day in Emily's office, we sat there and I said, I find it very, very, what's the word? Confronting. It felt like a burden. That's a word I'm looking for. It felt like a burden, the expectations of people, how people expected us to grieve as a family, me as a widow. I couldn't handle that label widow. I thought, I don't feel like a widow. I'm not old. I'm not wearing black. I just don't want to be that person um, with all my heart, you know. And I realized how different I felt and dealt with my own grief to what people expected from me. And I told her how much of a burden that was to me, how people expect me to grieve. And she said to me, what does grief mean to you, Marie? And I have shared this so many times in various interviews, yet it was such a surprise when the word that came up, the first word that I felt in my heart was empowerment. And I was really surprised by that. I was like, wow, how can you feel empowered through grief? And I could feel how this very moment planted a deep seed for me. I knew that I wanted to share our story, our whole way of being as a couple, and why and how it had shaped me to get to the point to live my life like that, feeling empowered through adversity. And Rob had a lot to do with that. It was such a gift for me how he shaped my heart and my whole life and my whole mindset throughout our relationship, our marriage, our being parents together, being lovers together, to feel like that, to feel empowered, to feel that I've got this, that I feel supported, that I feel I am always looked after throughout this process, which really resulted in me feeling empowered, feeling a strength I had never felt before in my life. So, with that being said, I decided I'm here. Hello, I'm here. When I'm live, unfortunately, I only ever see Facebook user. I don't see who's actually watching me. So with that, I decided that I will write this story, and it took me 4 weeks to literally pour my heart into this whole book and share how I met Rob, how I fell in love with him, how we built our dream life with a barefoot wedding, having 2 kids, this house, everything, and how he passed very unexpectedly and how I dealt with it. What I didn't expect was that overnight of publishing this book, it ranked in the top 100 in Australia, and I realized I had something that the world needed, and that was hope. That was hope that there is something else out there than what a society gives us as the only option to grieve. It is not. It is not the only option to grieve. The only option to grieve is not just to fall apart and be absolutely desperate and helpless and sit in pain all the time. There's also joy, there's hope, there's happiness, there is healing. There is so much out there in this world that I know your heart desires. I know that deep down within, we all want to be happy. We are all longing for healing. We are all longing for joy. The beautiful lady that took me under her wings, Pam Brosman, when I was writing the book, was she was actually the person who suggested the title, and she came up with Loving Love After Loss. And I have to admit, at first, it didn't even really gel with me. It didn't even feel exactly right. It felt a little bit, I don't know, it just was not quite what I was looking for at that moment. And then I sat with it and I really fell in love with that title. It is such a statement. Loving life after loss is a statement, is a pre-selector for those people who want to read the book or now come into the group. It is a call to action. Loving life after loss, there is so much in there. There is so much hope in there. And I just really fell in love with that title. And after I traveled the world with my boys, we traveled around for 2 months, and just to get away from all these first milestones, I wanted to create new happy memories while people were at home celebrating Christmas with their loved ones, with mum and dad. I did not want to be there on my own without Rob. I knew I had to take them away and create happiness and healing and really start a healing path for my boys, which we really truly have on this um, journey around the world. It was absolutely magical. Magical. We were so looked after, and we could, all three of us could feel how Rob was traveling with us, showing us little signs everywhere we went, welcoming us in different places in the world, and I could feel that he was with us at all times. When I was in Vienna, in my hometown where I was born, I all of a sudden had this epiphany and this inner urge to do something more with all of this, to do more than just writing a book, just sharing our story. I knew that I wanted to spread hope and happiness and healing into the world. And this is where the idea was born. It's funny, I've never thought about this. I was born in Vienna, and this idea for the movement was born in Vienna too. And this is really beautiful. So yeah, this is where the idea was born, and I reached out to a mentor that I had been following for a long time, and the rest is history. We started working together, and on the 19th of March 19, I opened the doors to Loving Life After Loss. And this is why I'm doing this live here. Loving Life After Loss is different to most grief groups. We do not focus on the suffering here. I don't accept people staying stuck in their suffering. I do want to hear from people what happened, because for the only reason that this is the station where I pick them up from, to jump on board with us to healing and happiness, if that makes sense. I want to know where you come from so I know how I can best support you. I want to enable everything for you to receive healing. I understand that at first it might feel strange. There might be guilt coming up there. because it's so different to what society suggests and expects from us, that it might feel strange. It might feel like something that you would like to rather sit on the sidelines for a while and watch. Yet I'm not going to allow in my group for anyone to stay stuck in pain. I will always be reaching out to you. So if you ever receive a message, a comment where I said, would you like to chat? Jump on a call with me. This is where I can help you best. This is where I can see where you stand, where I can suggest the best directions for you. Sometimes that might be a book, sometimes that might be a particular audio file that I will send you. Sometimes that might be a little twist or tool, twist as in shifting your perspective around something in that very session with me. And I really offer them freely and straight from my heart to be there for you, to catch you from falling, or to help you reach out, give your hand and reach out and pull you out if you feel you're stuck in grief. There are some people in here that jump straight in and come on board and go into the healing journey, join one of my programs or one of my retreats, and others that are just sitting on the sideline and watching. And everything, all of that is okay, but staying stuck in grief. I won't help you with that in my group. I have had people reach out to me, and I had all sorts of support and people not being too happy with what I offer. Most messages, I would really say 99% of the messages that I receive are full of gratitude, are full of thank you so much for showing me a different way. I needed to hear this. I'm so grateful I found your movement. And I'm so grateful that you found my movement, because here I really see that like we are all, like I did a talk the other day on are we all in the same boat, and I did this analogy of loving life after loss being like a big cruise ship that has got everything available to you. What you participate in or not is always your choice, but I won't let you jump off board to drown, if that makes sense. I will do anything and everything I can to keep you safe and to make you happy, to help you allow happiness back in. So when you enter my movement, for me, it is like allowing you into my home. There are certain rules, and the rules that I have is to be supportive of each other, to be encouraging of healing. This is really my number one rule. This is a place of healing. And when people can't accept that, I sometimes politely ask them to leave. And I'm saying that with a whole lot of love in my heart for those who are here to heal. Because when you have comments like, this will never get better, we will always carry the grief around with us, keep that to yourself. Keep it as I messages. I feel I will always carry that around with me. Well, I don't, but I'm giving you an example. So, in other words, don't drag other people into your disbelief that you can heal. Please don't do that, because there's so many people in here that come with a heart full of hope that they can heal, and I promise you, you can if you want to. So, this is why I'm asking you, come with an open heart and mind. You will find so many different ways to deal with your grief in here that you might have never thought of, that might be completely new to you, or that might be very familiar to you, but you never use them in terms of grief. I'm not reinventing the wheel here with tools that come to strengthening your mindset, shifting your perspectives. But what I am reinventing here is the way we allow ourselves to grieve. I'm not like one of those other grief groups out there that focus on the grief only, on the suffering, on the pain. There'll always be a hole in my heart. No, there'll always be a place in my heart for Rob. If there was a hole, all the memories would just tumble through and be gone. You get the analogy? There'll always be a place in my heart for Rob, for my dad, for Shane, for my grandmother, for all the people that have gone before me. There'll always be a place in my heart. And guess what? Once you start opening your heart space really expands. It gets bigger and bigger. So there's even more space for everyone in there, for those people who have left before us, and for those people who still walk the path with us. So again, when you come into my movement, come with an open heart and mind, because you're very welcome here. And everything you find in here is people that hold space for you, that offer love to you, that offer listening to you, and that offer help to you. We don't want to listen to you to stay stuck in where you are. We want to listen to you so we can pick you up from where you are and help you onto the path of healing. I'm sending you so much love. Thank you for being here and thank you for listening to this. And I will get back to all your comments now. This is Marie signing off. Bye for now.